Guess we're going to be working on a mock code challenge. This one is phase 4 mock challenge camping fun. Let's start, as always, by taking a peep at the README. Break it out pretty nice. Okay. So it looks like this one, they provided a front end for us to use. That's once again in the client folder here. Take a peek. Yep, they've got our components all built out for us, so we can refer to those. I'm going to go ahead and first run bundle install to install our gem file for our backend. Okay, next we're going to install our packages for our front end. So we're going to say npm install. We're going to add the note -- prefix and then the folder that our front end lives in, which is the client folder. Additionally, it looks like they were kind enough to provide us some seeds as well. So we're going to have to create our models and migrations before we can make these seeds. Let's see here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open up a few more terminals. I want to do one terminal for running our front end server, another terminal for running our back end server, and then just a terminal that we can interact with. So I got 3 terminals over here. Okay. Okay, so in this one, I'm going to run the server for the front end. So it'll be npm start. Then once again, the prefix tag and the folder it's living in, the client folder. This will be opening up our front end on localhost port 4000. It's trying its best to load. We'll let it do its thing. In the meantime, let's go ahead and also do Rails S to get our server running for our backend at localhost 3000. I'll open up another tab for that. Okay, so we got our backend and our front end. Looking good so far, and our terminal to interact with. Okay. Let's see. We shouldn't have to make any changes to the React code. And they have provided tests for us with RSpec. Okay. They've got 3 models for us to do here. We have the activities model, the campers model, and then a join table that we're calling the signups model. And signups, in addition to having the join information for the camper that's signed up for the activity and the activity they're signed up for, we also have unique attributes on the sign up of the time. So what time did they sign up for this activity? Let's go ahead and start building out those models. For activities and campers, I'm thinking I'm going to want the full selection of endpoints and stuff for the controllers. So it should be safe for me to use the resource generator, which will do models and controllers at the same time for both activities and campers. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to say Rails G resource. And I'm going to say capital C camper. And the camper has two attributes that we're interested in recording: their name and their age. Name will be a string, so I can just say name, and I don't have to specify that it's a string data type because Rails will default to the string data type without a tag. And I also want the age of the camper, which I am going to add the tag on that this is an integer data type. I'm also going to remember this time to say dash dash no dash test dash framework, because we have built-in specs and I don't want to overwrite them or deal with the error message or anything. Let's go ahead and press enter here. Okay, this generated some stuff for us. It created a migration file, a model file, a controller file, and to the resources, it added campers, and it looks like it added a serializer for us as well. I'm going to probably skip the serializer stuff. We'll save talking about serializers until after the code challenge. Okay. Let's go ahead and do another generator for the activities. So I'm going to say Rails G resource activity. And here we're interested in a name for the activity, a difficulty rating. All right, so I'm going to say name, and I won't add a tag, so it'll default to string. And then difficulty, I will add the tag that this is an integer. Oops, I forgot the no-test framework. Okay. When it hits the error and it asks you if you want to overwrite, you can just press the letter N and press enter and it'll skip it. Okay. Finally, we've got this join table, and I don't think we're going to need controller actions for the join table, but maybe I'm wrong because we might want to create new signups, right? So it can't hurt. Let's go ahead and do a resource generator for this as well. I'm going to say Rails G resource sign up. And this will take in a camper ID, which will be an integer, an activity ID, which will also be an integer, and a time, which is also an integer. Okay. And I'm going to remember the no-test framework this time. All right. So that should have generated a bunch of migrations for us. There we go. We got 3 migrations, one for campers, one for activities, and one for signups. We should also have models for each one: activity, camper, sign up, looking good. Controllers, activities, campers, and signups, controllers. I'm going to go ahead and just delete the serializers folder. Well, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't. The specs might rely on it. We could just ignore it for now. Let's see. We're going to want to run our migrations and our seeds now. And we can do all of this in one line. And go ahead and run that. I'm going to say Rails, db migrate, and then db seed. All right, looking good. Let's go ahead and take a peek at that closer now. We've got the development.sqlite file. I'm going to go ahead and right click that and say open database. So I'll be able to see it in the SQLite Explorer. Oops, still have the Spices database open. Here we go. If I go ahead and press play on the campers, we can see our seed data has created a bunch of campers for us. It's looking good. We've got signups where certain campers are assigned or signed up for certain activities. And there's a time where they will be doing that activity in military time hours that was logged, it looks like. And then we have the activities themselves. and the difficulty level. All right. Looking good so far. The next task it wants us to do is to start adding validations, such as a camper must have a name and a camper must have an age, and the age must be in a range between age 8 and 18. So no 40-year-old campers, unfortunately. I guess they're not letting me in. So let's go ahead and take a look at our models, which is where we're going to add these validations. So the camper model, let's see, they must have a name and they must have an age. Let's go ahead and refer to our notes for validations. I see we've got a nice list of all the included validations. We're looking for that they must have it. So I think presence is going to be the right way to go here. Let's double check about the syntax for validating the presence. So let me just say active record validations presence. Here we got the official guide. Go ahead and I will click on presence. Okay, so we're going to say we're going to validate the column, and then we're going to add the tag presence true to the end. So let's give that a shot. Validates that there's a name and the presence is true. Okay. They must also have an age, and the age must be between the range of 8 and 18. Let's take a look at our notes again. Let's go ahead and move my humidifier closer. I don't know if you can see the smoke. Does it make me look mysterious? Okay. Let's see. Length. I think length is probably, well, maybe not length, because we want it to be a number within a certain range. Numerically, maybe. Inclusion, maybe. All right, let's take a look at these options.
With length, would you be able to do like a minimum maximum?
Yeah, I believe minimum and maximum are true. Maybe we can do it with length. I'd like to take a look here. Let's first look at, my first thought was maybe length. So I want to say, okay. Length, I think, is a little different. This looks like it's more appropriate for a string. We want to see how many characters long it is. So I'm thinking length might not be the one to go with. What else do we have? I was thinking maybe inclusion. Like I want to make sure that the age is included in a certain range. So let's see if inclusion is the right one. Okay, so we can say inclusion and in a given set. This looks like it's allowing us to see if the set is a variable, but I wonder if it'll work for a range of ages as well. I think we should try it. So I'm going to say, let's experiment here. I'm going to say validates age, inclusion, and here we pass in a hash, and our key is in, and I want a range of numbers. Let's see how I can get a range of numbers with Ruby. I'm going to say Ruby range. Okay, let's see. Okay, so a range does indeed generate an array. So I think inclusion, which seems to tag on to arrays, should work. And to make a range, we can just say the numbers dot 2a. So let's say, we'll say 8 through 18 2a. I think that'll work. Let's go ahead and try this. 8 to 18 to A. I want to go ahead and let's run RSpec fast fail. Oops. Fast fail didn't work because it's testing different things first. So I'm just going to say RSpec. All right, let's take a look here. How did we do? For our validations? Okay, well, that did work indeed. A camper's validations are must have a name is working and must be between the ages of 18 is working. Does this make sense so far? How we got to this point?
Yeah, I just had one question. So, I was thinking since it has to be there, you had to use the presence also. Is that just included with inclusion? Like that's already built in? Like it makes it like you
Yeah,
need to have it between 8 and 18?
I think it must, because if it was null, it wouldn't be valid because it's null is not a number between 8 and 18. So I think inclusion is sort of handling that presence aspect as well.
Okay, thank you.
And we're going to want some validations for our sign up model. The time must be between 0 and 2300 hours. Okay, let's take a look at that then. I'm going to go to the sign up model. And I think we're going to be able to do the exact same validation that we've done here, an inclusion validation within a range of numbers. So I'm going to just copy our solution here and just tweak a few things. This will be for the time column. I swear, I really hate that that does that. And this whole time, I never get used to it. Just want to double click stuff, man. All right. So it must have a time. So that'll be the time column for signups. And the time must be between 0 and 2300 hours. Go ahead and save that. Let's run RSpec again just to check that out. Scroll up to the top. All right, nice. Our validations for signups are indeed working like that. What else do we have? Well, we've got routes. Our routes should have been generated automatically for us when we did our resource generator. Let's take a peek at them. Those live in the config folder in routes.rb. So we have resources for signups, activities, and campers. And we can check what all of our routes are by typing Rails routes. And it provides all of these different endpoints for us in which controllers and actions those endpoints will be tapping into. Let's see. Got a lot of notes here about what our endpoints are. Okay. So looking back up at the RSpec, I'm seeing they have no unnecessary routes. So I don't think this wants us to have the full range of routes available to each thing. So which routes are we interested in holding on to? Let's see. Look up at the list up here again. Okay. Well, does not define, well, which ones are the unnecessary routes, y'all? I'm going to go ahead and look at the spec files. Here's for routing. Here's their unnecessary route spec. Let me take a closer look at this. Okay, so campers should not have a route for updating a camper or deleting a camper. So campers will not need the update route or the delete route. So let me go ahead and add some notes to this. I want all of the routes for campers except I don't want update or destroy. I think that's the right syntax, but let me go ahead and double check myself. Rails resources accept. All right, here it is. So it's accept. And then, yeah, if we have more than one, we put it inside of an array and separate the actions by commas. Perfect. Let's go ahead and have a look then. So no update or destroy methods for campers. What else do we not want? Let's see, we don't want to be able to create new activities, and we don't want to be able to retrieve an individual activity or to update an individual activity. So we're going to want to accept for activities. Let's see, we don't want to show a single activity. What else was it? So yeah, we don't want to show a single activity. We don't want to update an activity. And we don't want to be able to create new activities. Finally, for signups, what do we have here? We don't want to be able to get, whoopsie. We don't want to be able to get all of the signups. We don't want to be able to get one sign up. We don't want to be able to update it or delete it. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I think perhaps since we have so many exceptions, this might be a better place for the only method. So I'm going to say only. What are we wanting to be able to do here? Looks like the only thing we want to be able to do here is the ability to create a new sign up. We don't want to retrieve the signups. We don't want to retrieve one sign up, update a sign up, or delete it. We just want to be able to create it. So I'm just going to say only create. Oops. Oh my goodness. What have I done? Okay. I'm just going to delete this node here. All right. So I think that'll take care of our routes. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm going to go ahead and run RSpec again. Scroll up to the list. Here we go. Nice. So all of our routes have been pared down to only the ones that we need. And building off of this, let's go ahead and start building out our controller actions. Since we have an idea of which controller actions are going to be valid for this exercise, let's go ahead and start adding them to the controller then. I'm going to start with the Signups controller. And in the signups controller, I only want to be able to create new signups. So I'm just going to block that out real quick. Let's see, for activities, I want to be able to do everything except show, update, and create. So that means we'll need index. Gosh, I think it's just index and delete, isn't it? Without show, update, and create. So perhaps this would be a better case for only as well. I'm going to change this to only index and delete, or destroy rather, isn't it? So So let's go ahead and say define index. Define destroy. Okay. And finally, for the campers controller, campers are going to be able to do everything except update and destroy the campers. So let's go ahead. We'll be able to index them all. We'll be able to show one camper. And we'll be able to, what was it? Create a camper. Okay. So we got our basic routes blocked out, or our basic controller methods to hook up to our routes are blocked out. I think I'm done with
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure can.
Just to make sure I'm following. So we're doing this stuff in the controller, and then the relationships and the validations are in the model. Is
Yeah,
that right?
exactly.
Okay, cool. I got behind, so I
No worries.
get confused about that. Okay, thank you.
No worries at all. Yeah. Our controller and our routes are tied together like this. Our controller is handling serving the data to our endpoints, but the data is being managed by the model. So that's the relationship here. The model is going to handle the associations and the validations. The controller is just going to be serving that data to our endpoint. So let's go ahead and start building out our models and our associations between these models. We know that a sign up, oops, in the wrong place. Looking at the activity model, camper model, and sign up model. We know that a sign up model, let's take a look at our database schema real fast, in fact. Here. So a sign up belongs to a single camper and it belongs to a single activity. So let's go ahead and add that relationship in here real fast. So it belongs to the camper and it belongs to an activity. Our campers, they're going to have many signups. In addition to that, we can say they have many activities through the signups table. So let's say has many activities. Signups. Be very similar for the activity. Activities will has many signups. And the activities will have many campers through the sign up table. Okay. I think that's it for our relationships here. What else do we need? I'm not sure what else we need. I'm going to go ahead and run RSpec just for fun, see how far we've gotten here.
Can I see your sign up RB really quick?
Absolutely can.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Looking at this list. We got a lot more green here. All of our relationships and validations are looking good. Nice. All right, let's start building out those controller methods now. We got them blocked out. Let's start filling them out. I'm going to start with the activities controller. For the index method is always interested in serving up all examples of a data type. So I should just be able to say activity.all. And I can serve that up as JSON, just like this. Render JSON activity.all. Yeah.
I just had one real quick question regarding serializers and
Yeah.
stuff. I watched like a little video on it, and like my understanding of like what I got from that video was basically like we do serializers so we don't have to do this like render JSON activity in the controller. Is that like the general like good understanding of it, or am I misunderstanding something?
I have a confession to y'all. When I learned Rails, serializers weren't a thing yet. And my understanding of serializers is it about the same level as y'all's? And I was going to take extra time over the weekend to really boost myself up on that and make sure I wasn't telling you wrong information. I find serializers a little bit confusing, but the way I understand them is that it allows us to create nested relationships between multiple data types. In terms of how we fill out our controllers, if we fill them out differently with serializers, I honestly can't speak to that. I'm sorry I'm letting you down on that right now.
No problem. I was just curious, but yeah, not a problem.
I will spend time so I can boost up my understanding of serializers, and we'll have some more in-depth conversation on it next week. All right, when we come to our destroy method, the destroy method, we're going to need to find one particular activity. And the way we'll find it, let's take a look at our routes again real fast. Say Rails routes. Okay. Our routes for activities is the delete method will be at this endpoint, localhost slash activities slash, and then some information that we enter into the URL. The format here is assigning that value to the key of ID. So params data is data that's sent back through the URL, either through user input, like a user typing into the URL directly, or through form input, where we enter something into a form and then that data gets inserted into the URL as it's sent by the user. And that URL then goes back through the routes to the back end. So all parameters data technically comes from the URL. And in the case of Rails, the default is whatever you type after activities is going to be assigned to the key of ID in our parameters. Let's take a look at our parameters. In fact, I'm going to just go ahead and put a bybug here. And if I try to access all the activities by going to localhost 3000/activities, I should hit this bybug so we can take a look at parameters and stuff. Oh, but wait a moment. Activities doesn't have the tag on it. Let me put the bybug down and I'll see how do I, that'd be the better way to do this. Let's go ahead and try doing, I want to show you the parameters for the activities. For the slash symbol, we're going to need a get request to the slash symbol. In our routes, we've indicated we don't want that, but just for testing, let me go ahead and add the show method here. I'll delete it later. If I were to go ahead and run Rails routes again, we see that we've been provided a get method now for a single activity. So activities/ID, and that'll join up to a show method. So let me go ahead and just block out a show method here. Okay. And I've got the server running. So hopefully when I go to localhost 3000/activities, let's just check on that one real quick. A pending migration. Okay, That was weird. All right. Going to localhost 3000/activities, we get an array full of objects representing each activity. If I want to retrieve a single activity, I do /1, for instance. Now we're going to be hitting our by bug, and I should be able to look at the params here. And here's what's set back. Params is equal to a hash or an object with the key. We see it's been given the key for the controller and the action that we're interested in through this URL access. And we've also been given this key of ID. The key of ID is defined, I can, oops, wrong terminal. The key of ID is defined here, and it's set to the value of whatever is entered in after that slash in our URL. In our case, we entered activity /1, so we get back the params of ID equals 1. So if I say params ID here, I get the value of 1 back. So in order to find a particular record, all I have to do is check in with the params and look at the key of ID. In order to destroy a particular record, I'm going to have to find it first. Let me go ahead and get rid of my show method and re-update my routes to get rid of that as well. Since we're not really interested in it, just wanted to do it to test. I'll exit the spy bug. Okay. So if I want to delete a particular activity, first I have to find it. So let me say activity equals, and then I'm going to look in the activities table. I access it through the model name activity dot find, and I'll find the one with the ID that's in my params. Once I've found it, I can just say activity dot delete. Okay, what else do we have here? We've got our campers controller. We want to be able to show all the campers, show one particular camper, and create a new camper. Well, doing the index and show are pretty easy to get all the campers. All I have to do is say render JSON camper.all. To show a particular camper, much like I did with the activities, I'm going to find that camper's ID through my params, because the camper's ID will come through the URL. Take a look. So campers have a get method. That'll be the show method here for /campers/ some value, which will be assigned to the ID by default. So I'm going to go ahead and say render JSON camper.find one with this ID that we're passing through our URL. Finally, we're going to want to create a camper. And there's a shortcut here. We don't have to explicitly list out every single key and match them up with the attributes for a camper. We should be able to do the shortcut of just passing in the whole params object, and Rails will know what to do. It'll pass things into the correct attribute slots or columns in our database because they'll have the same name. That's another one of those things where by convention, we keep the names of the attributes the same between our form, what we're passing through in our params, and what we have labeled as columns in our backend. So we should be able to pass in the entire params object to get it to create a new camper. We'll test that out. See if it's working in a moment. Before we do that though, let's take one look at our signups controller. Oh wait, we already did that one. Oh, we did them all. Nice. Oh wait, no we didn't. I looked at the wrong thing. Okay, the signups controller, this is going to be the same. We're going to want to be able to create a new sign up I want to see if I can use my shortcut here of just passing in that whole params hash. So let's try that out. Oh, I forgot to do, I didn't finish my create method actually. I got distracted. I created my new camper, but I also want to render it at the end. Okay. For the sign up, I'm going to say sign up equals sign up.create. I'm going to try passing in my full params hash and say render. Notice I didn't put any messages or anything in yet. That's something I want to do when I come back. First, I'm just interested in seeing if things are working. Let's go ahead and take a look. Now that we've got all of our controller actions filled out, we should be able to test our front end. Let's see. Perfect. Let me reload this page. All right, looking good so far. We have all of the activities being listed, all of the campers being listed, and we should be able to click this view activities button to view the activities that are associated with that camper. Let's try that. What happened here? Cannot read properties of undefined. Camper.names activities. Maybe this camper doesn't have any activities. Let me go ahead and try. Oh, wait a moment. Camper.activities.map. Forgetting the particular camper. They don't have any activities. Interesting. Let's try this out in a different way. Let me try a different camper. Okay.
Is this where they're trying to say that we need to have a like camper details serializer?
Maybe that might be where we're wanting our serializer to come in at for this. Let's go ahead and take a look closer here. I'm going to look at the front end and see what it's rendering. If I take a look at the client here, at the source, let's look at the components. And here we have a camper component. Let's have a look here. Let's see. Got the camping fun link at the top. Got the home component. The home component is listing all of the campers. Okay. I see. So here we want to be able to see the camper's activities. Let's see. If I want to serve that data to the front, get the camper, should be able to say camper.activities. At least I thought. But now we need to use serializers. Okay. I can do this. Let's go ahead and look at adding serializers after all. Let me see. Let's look at the activity serializer, the camper serializer, and the sign up serializer. Okay, we got those attributes are there already for us. Those came through when we did our Rails resource generator. How can we implement serializers into our controller? I'm going to go ahead and let's take a look. I want to look up active record serializers. Okay. So here's one of our own labs or lessons for using the active record serializer. This is showing us, okay, interesting. In this case, it's a post. So we can imagine that like an author has a post the same way a camper has an activity. So this could be like the activities controller. And we're going to say render JSON. We'll render our post. But we're only going to include certain details. And we also want to include the related column through the join table. So I'm going to go ahead and let me copy this to use as an example. Let's see if this works. Here's what I'm thinking. Serializers are filled out. I'm going to go ahead and close these for now. Let's look at the campers controller. And for our campers controller, this would be for our show method, I believe. Let me go ahead and post this in as notes. So first, let's find our camper. Okay, so we found our camper. And then when we render the camper, I'm going to say render the camper. And we want to include the activity. And let's start out with serving up only the name of the activity for now. So yeah, I've got my camper. And in addition to my camper, I want to include the activities that this camper is signed up for. And I'm going to only return the activity's name. Okay, so I can add the associations in the serializer. Okay, thanks, Amy. I appreciate that tip. Let's try doing that as well. I'll go to the camper serializer and I say has many activities. Do I have to do the through method like we've done before? Through,
I think with
think
these,
so.
you don't have to, yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I
nice,
think as long as you've done that in your model, you don't have to do it here.
nice,
Yeah,
all right.
because Rails like can make the connection because we have to allow Rails to do work for us.
All right, so maybe we don't even need all this, huh? We may
I
not,
don't know.
I don't know, let's try it without it then. I'm
I
going,
think it was saying you can do both, but like as a separation of concern, they would rather have you do that in the serializer. That's kind of what I got from it.
dig it, okay. So let's go ahead, I'm gonna get rid of this. Let's get rid of all this. Of course, it's a lot easier than I was thinking it was. Y'all ever gets, I know, I mean, you can identify with this. You've gone through it several times through this program already, where when something, you feel like you know what you're doing and then there's something new on the horizon and you kind of avoid it a little bit because you're like, I don't know. I kind of felt
Yes,
that way about
100%.
serializers.
Same. I
All
feel
right,
like we kind of all have.
definitely. But then, we're here and it turns out that it's probably not as bad as I'm thinking. So let's go ahead and just try it with this for now. I'm going to refresh our front end. And let's try viewing the activities. All right. Maybe try another one. Okay. Perhaps because I've made changes in the back end, I should restart my server. But let's see. If I were to go and say campers/1/activity. Okay, so we don't have that path either. Okay. Let's see. I want to cheat for a second. I want to peek at what the solution is and use that as a model going forward. So let's go ahead and take a peep at the solution. You want to go to App, Controllers, Campers Controller. And okay, so I have to It's saying serializer right here. That's all I have to add.
I think
Interesting.
that's
And
like
that's
the
like-
custom serializer that they made.
Okay. Let's take a look at their serializers then. If I look at I see, camper with activities serializer. Interesting. Okay. Attributes, ID, name, age, has many activities. So that looked good so far. Has many
Oh.
activities. Let's go ahead and
I think it's
transfer the-
because in the index, one of the tests specifically says when you're just doing the index, it should not pull up the activities. So I guess in the camper serializer, that's for the index, and they want us to make a new one that does have the activities for the show, I guess.
I got it. I got it. Okay, let's go ahead and implement that. I'm going to create a new one. So I'm going to right click my serializers folder, hit new file, and I'm going to say camper with, do I have to do it plural? Not sure it matters. Camper with activity .rb. And this will be class camper with activities. And here we're going to have all the information about our camper, all their attributes, ID, name, and age. So I'm going to say attributes.
I think you would also at the top inherit from the camper serializer or something like that. I don't remember the notation, but I remember something like that.
Okay. Well, we know we have to import from active model serializer. What is this one doing? Okay. Looks like we could inherit from the camper serializer, so we don't have to list out the attributes again. So let's try doing it that way. I like that idea. So I'm going to import from the camper serializer. And I'm not going to list out the attributes again. Instead, I'm just going to put my has many statement in here. Okay. So I've got my camper with activities serializer. Oh, maybe I shouldn't. I think I have to add serializer to the end. Let me edit my file name to be camper with activities underscore serializer. Okay, got that. And let me rename this as well. All right, camper with activities serializer, saying they have many activities. We're importing from the camper serializer, where the attributes that we're interested in listing out for the camper have been identified here. Okay, so in our controller now, we want to, let's see, equals, we'll find our camper. And we're going to render that camper. And let's take a look at this for the models. No, not the models, I meant the controllers. The campers controller. All right, and we just declare what the custom serializer is here. Okay. Thank you for your support, everyone. So here in our campers controller, we're going to render the camper, and we're also going to include a serializer and the name of our serializer here. All right, let's see if this is working now. I'm going to take a look at our front end. Let's refresh this. Okay, now if I click view activities, well, we're getting farther. I like that we've got an internal server error. It's better than getting nothing. Let's see what we've got here. Okay. Oops, here we are. We got serializer colon, the name of the serializer. Serializer colon, the name of the serializer. Okay. Maybe restart the server, not a bad idea. Let's Control C, for our backend and restart it. And I don't reckon we'll need to restart the front end. Let's try this. I'm going to do a hard refresh here. Whoops. And let's take a look again. Oh, perfect. It was just a matter of restarting the server. Okay, well, that was a lot less painful than I thought it was going to be. So let's review what we've just covered here. First thing we did was with our camper serializer, we had automatically generated these with our Rails resource controller. Costco is very important. Okay, I understand being interrupted for Costco. Tell her not to forget the hot dog before she goes. All right. So let's see. We're inheriting, this was generated automatically. This inherits from active model serializer and it lists out the attributes that we're interested in for the camper. Finally, though, we created a custom serializer to illustrate the associations this camper has as well. And rather than list out all of the camper's attributes again, we've just passed down the camper serializer to the camper with activity serializer. So these attributes got passed down onto this file by doing this. In addition to our active model serializer methods, they got passed down to through the camper serializer. And here we've just declared what the has many situation is. For real, anything, if I can get something to eat that tastes good for less than $2, it's instantly my favorite food. All right. You know what? Hot dogs are apropos for our camper discussion. So let's see here though. And then in our controller, when we're serving up this camper, we also want to serve up their relationships with the activities through the camper with activities serializer. So we'll be able to see all the activities that this particular camper has signed up for. We're going to be serving that through our show method. That was not very painful. I don't know why I avoided the topic for so long. Okay. Really appreciate your support, folks. All right, so that's looking good. What else do we got here? Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and run RSpec. Got a lot more green. I like that. What else are we missing here? Okay. Well, this is important. If we delete an activity, we want to make sure that we're deleting the associated signups as well. I think this might be another job for the serializers, but I'm not sure. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the, let's see, activity serializer. And in the activity serializer, I can say has many signups, I think. And I think that's all I'm going to need to do to get it to delete the associated signups with the activity. But let's go ahead and run RSpec and test this. Okay. Maybe not. Maybe there's something else we need to do. We need to delete the associated signups with the activity. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the activities controller. And when we destroy an activity, we find the activity, we destroy it. Okay, no problem there. Let's take a look at the serializers then. Take a look at the activity serializer. Okay, no, I didn't have to put anything on there. Maybe it goes into the sign up serializer. What's this? Something to do with destroy dependents. Yeah, In the route, you have to declare dependent destroy. Okay, so that's where we're going to declare our dependents. All right. Let's, before cheating on this, let's see if we can look at some guides. Routes, destroy dependents. Dependencies. Go ahead. Filter this out. Rails, routes, destroy dependencies. Let's see. It's a guide for using nested routes. Da, da, da. We have our resources. We're familiar with that. Okay. Look up dependent. Okay. Ah, here we go. Has many comments. Dependent destroy. Okay, so I think this might be what we're looking at here. If we have, let's see. Okay. If we're saying that in the case here, it's like if an activity is destroyed, we also want to destroy all of the signups associated with the activity. So we can say that a activity has many signups, and those signups, if the activity is destroyed, then the signup should be destroyed. So let's go ahead and say, let me look at the signups controller or signups model. So it has many activities through signups, and maybe I can say dependent destroy here. So that if the activity is destroyed, this sign up should also be destroyed. Wait, I'm on camper right now. Jesus. Here it
I
is.
bet that it wants us to apply it to both though, so
Oh yeah,
you're probably right anyway.
yeah. All right, so it belongs to activity dependent destroy. All right, that makes sense. And if we're in the activity model, has many signups. If the activity is destroyed, the signup should also be destroyed. Let's see if this works. I'm going to go ahead and run this through RSpec. Not quite hitting it yet. Where am I? Yeah, it deletes the associated signups. I'm going to go ahead and cheat again. That's what review is for. Let's go ahead and take a look here. If it's, let's take a look at the models. I'm going to look at the activity model. Yeah, it has many signups, dependent destroy. That looks good so far. So we tried that. Has many signups, dependent destroy. Our syntax is looking good. Let's take a look at our signup model as well. If I look at the signup model. Oh no, we don't need to include it there. Interesting. So we don't need to include it on our join table. It's just important for us to remember that when something is dependent on another thing, declaring it in one place is enough. So if this activity is destroyed, any signups associated with that activity should also be destroyed. Okay. Yeah, we should definitely edit our, on Monday maybe, we'll take some more discussion time to add some serializers notes to our notes table, just to have it. All right, so I'm thinking this should be working now. So I'm going to clear this out. Maybe I'm missing something from the controller. What do y'all think? Let's take a look at the activities controller. I have my destroy method. Let's see if there's anything that we need to do here for our dependencies in the controller. Nope. Okay. looking good there then. Let's go ahead and try running RSpec again. I'm gonna do it with fast fail this time. That's so weird. Why is this not working? I feel like we did it right. Let's take a look at the activity serializer then. Okay, that's looking good. That's good. Here's a difference. I think our sign up serializer needs to have the associations filled out here as well. So let's go ahead and do that. I want to take a look at our sign up serializer. I've listed out the attributes here, but in the case of these attributes, the camper ID and the activity ID, we're not as interested in knowing what the IDs are as in knowing what the object associated with the ID is. So I think that's why we're going to say has one instead of listing them out as base attributes, because we want the whole object, not just the ID number. So I'm going to go ahead, let's delete these. And I'm going to say it has one camper and it has one, every signup has one camper and every signup has one activity. All right.
It's weird that we can't just use belongs to camper and belongs to activity like we're used to.
I know,
I feel
isn't
like
that
this is the
strange?
first time I'm seeing has one.
Yeah, maybe we can use belongs to. Let's mix
Hmm.
it up. I'm going to say belongs to for one and then has one for the other. Let's see if we get a different result here. Let's go ahead and clear this and I'll run RSpec fast fail again. Sorry if you can hear that car alarm outside. Now I'm really
That's so
feeling
weird.
stumped.
Yeah, I've been following along and that one, delete the associated signups, is working on my test. But I feel like we've done the same thing.
Yeah, what did I do wrong, guys? Let's see. Dependent, destroy. Let's see.
Oh, well, is it because I think it's just like a weird like Ruby versus JavaScript thing. I think maybe we have to say activity.destroy instead of activity.delete. And maybe that's
Oh.
why it's not working.
Okay, let's try that. I will definitely try that. To the activities controller, activities.destroy.
I don't know if that actually matters. That might not matter.
We'll find out.
It seems like one of those easy mistakes to make since we're switching so fast from React and JavaScript to Ruby.
It really is. You were right. I use the
Yeah.
delete method, but it wants the destroy method. Okay.
I keep doing that too, which is why I'm like really trying to look out for it because it's so hard to remember that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Good looking out.
So weird though, because I think it said it passed the first, deletes the activity, but then it was just the second
Yeah.
one that wasn't working. So that's really strange too.
So I think that's an
Yeah.
interesting limitation to be aware of. If you're deleting a record on its own, it looks like .delete is fine. But if you need to delete associated records as well, we have to use the destroy method. So that's an interesting little difference there between when to use delete and when to use destroy. I'd say let's
Yeah.
just default to destroy because it'll work every time, whereas delete is more fickle. All right.
Cool.
Yeah, that's good. And now we want to return error messages if we have invalid data. So let's go ahead and look at our errors. I want to take a peep here again at the activities controller. And we're going to use that rescue method. We have built-in methods for active record, such as the record hasn't been found. And in this case, we're saying a render a not found response as a separate method. So let's go ahead and try this. I'm going to say on our activities controller, I'm going to add the tag private because methods that go under private do not interact with anything except for the back end. And we're only interested in this interacting right here at the back end level. So I want to say define not found. Here we're going to render JSON, and it's an error message. So we'll make a hash with the key of error. I'll say, in this case, activity not found. And we'll give it a status code as our second keyword. And oh, it doesn't go inside. My bad. It goes after our hash. We'll say status. And then we have this key of not found. Where does this key come from? I'm not sure. Let's take a look. I'm going to say active record. Not found. Rails rendered 404 not found from a controller action. How about active record rescue? Oops. Let's take a look at the official guide here. Ooh, not helpful. What else do we have? Maybe this guide. No, this is not the same syntax here that I'm trying to look at here. All right, this is sort of the syntax we're looking for. Okay, so by default, this renders a 404, and here we go. This is what I was looking for. Here's a list of all the tags we can use depending on what kind of error it is. And we're saying this is a not found type error. There's other types of errors we can do. Can't do this method not implemented, some sort of unprocessable entity like a bad password or something, a bad request. Okay, this is really interesting. I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I want to add it to our notes. Let's add another table here. Or insert break, section break. This is going to be active record error handling. Nice. And this is types of built-in, what should we call these? Error objects. So going on with this, we have our method that handles serving this error. And let's go ahead and make sure we add our rescue up to the top as well. I'm going to add this to our notes. This goes at top of controller after class is defined. Whoops. Format. How do I delete all? There it is, clear formatting. Okay. Rescue from active record not now with, and here we'll say with name of method. And here will be like def. And here built-in error status objects. Status. Status. Okay. Go ahead and put in our rescue method real quick. And we're going to put in the name of our method, which is just not found. Maybe we shouldn't because that's a little confusing. Let me say activity not found. There we go. All right. That should render us an error message connecting to this not found error status object. And here's the list of the error status objects we have available to us. Okay. Looking good so far. Let's go ahead and run our spec pass fail again. Error activity not found. Oh, it's dinging me for putting an exclamation point on it. Okay, no problem. Let's do our spec fast fail again. All right, getting better. Now we need to do an error message for the campers. So if the camper can't be found, we should do a rescue method there as well. I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. Actually, it'd probably be good for me to type it out, huh? Let me go ahead and put it over here, and let's look at the campers controller. So I want to say rescue from active record not found. Let's make a custom method, camper not found. Go ahead, add my private tag, and create my camper not found method. And my camper not found method is going to serve up an error in JSON format. So let me create an object for it to serve up. It'll be an error message. The error will be camper not found. And I'll be using the status code not found. All right, let's see if this is working. I'm going to go ahead and run our spec pass fail again. Okay, getting closer. This is looking good so far. Now, I thought that maybe we could try to create a new camper just by passing back the entire set of params. But for some reason, that's not working. I thought this was okay to do, but I don't, maybe if my syntax is wrong. I'm going to go ahead and take a look, see at the campers controller in the solution.
Maybe it's the kind of thing where like in real life that would be fine, but just because the tests are so specific, it wants us to make custom strong params or whatever.
Maybe, yeah, I think it wants us to do strong params, and maybe you can't do that in real life either. I'm not sure. Maybe I was thinking about strong params when I was thinking about a shorter way to do this. So let's make our strong params for this. When we create a camper, the camper has, let's double check our schema. A camper has a name and an age. Okay, so we'll allow those in our strong params. So at the bottom of the campers controller, I've got my private method already. I'm going to define camper params. Let's double check the syntax here. Yeah, just params permit, and then the columns we want to permit us to create or change. So I will say here, yeah, params permit name and age. Double check the syntax, looking good. Okay. So now when I'm creating a new camper, all I have to do is call on camper params. What else does it have here for this create method? Oh, we get a status. Where does this created status come from? Let's take a look. We have some error statuses saved into our notes. What about when things are going good? Oh, nice. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm adding stuff to the bottom.
No, I appreciate it. Don't apologize. Sorry, I'm helping you out here. I appreciate it. Let's look at active record. Maybe instead of error handling, let's call this status handling. Because there's good statuses and there's bad statuses. Not found and errors and stuff, those are one type of status. We also have good statuses like successfully completed. So let's see. Can we find active record status? This will get us going. Active record. Active record controller status. Okay, list of status symbols for rendering in Rails. Okay, that's something go. We got bad request. Here's a list of available symbol values for status. Okay, here's our list. Okay, okay, cool. Bunch of errors, server errors. What's the good ones? Redirection success. Okay. So we have the created method here, the accepted method here. I'm going to go ahead and copy this whole dang table. I'm going to replace the one I've already pasted in there. Or maybe I won't replace it. Maybe I'll just add one to it. Let's say I'm going to come down way below you. List of status objects. So looking at the ones that are good, successful, in the case that we're creating something, it makes sense then that we'd want to provide the created status. Okay, so let's go ahead and add that. Render JSON, new camper, status, created. Cool. Let's go ahead and try running rspec fastfail again. All right. Okay, so if the camper has invalid data, it should not create a new camper and it should return error messages. Okay. So we should see an ability to show errors. What are we looking at here? Well, I've got status created here. Got a not found one. We also have for records that are invalid. So if it's got invalid data, we also want to kick back an error. So let's go ahead and first let's make a note of this. Let's add this to our notes. Okay. Let's go ahead and add this one as well. We're going to rescue from an error. So the active record. This is called invalid. What? Oh, just record invalid. Record invalid with, and we'll create camper data invalid method. Say camper data invalid. Render JSON. Error message. It'll probably yell at me later. Just say camper data. Not give it a status. Let's take a look at the error entities that we have here. Let's see. Maybe, let's see, there's not acceptable. That's for unknown format. Record not found. What do we have? Record invalid. This is an unprocessable entity. That's what we should use for this one. Okay. Let's give this a shot. Okay. JSON Atom path errors is missing. Does it want it to be errors? Let's try that real fast. Oh, interesting. Okay. I'm not sure what's going on there. Let's take a peek here.
Wait, did that work? Changing it to errors helped?
It did. See here?
What the heck?
And this wants us to say something very specific here. Exception, that record, that errors, full messages. Okay. I'm not sure what that means, but let me go ahead and I'm going to put in a bybug here. I want to take a closer look at why we're doing all of this. Like, what does this mean? What are we doing? To me, this looks like it must be an object that's got nested keys, and we're navigating down through the object. So this must be some kind of JSON object here that we're navigating through. Let me try doing RSpec with a bybug inside of it. Oh, didn't do it. How can I see the full error messages, y'all? Let's see, let's see.
I think if you refresh the like the localhost thing, you should go into the bybug.
Oh, right. Okay, let's try that. Oh, you know what we can do? If we try to, because this, what are we doing here? This is campers. We're creating a new camper with invalid data, right? So let's try doing that. Let's add a new camper with invalid data. So I'm going to say all blank. If I press submit, do I hit the bybug anywhere? Interesting.
Maybe you need to refresh or like close it down and then restart it, maybe.
Try that. I always love nuking it and rebuilding it as a solution. So let's give that a shot. I want to go to localhost 4000. I want to create actually, let's just do Dex age 37. Submit. It allowed me for some reason. It shouldn't even allow us to do that.
Can we try putting the bybug in our post, in our create method, I wonder?
That's a good idea. Let's try doing that.
Or both places, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like record invalid. Let's take a look at the spec real quick. I want to see what exactly it's testing. So this would be a request. Let's look at the camper's requests. Okay. With an invalid ID. Reserve bound. Bad ID. Is it the camper? Oh, campers. It's not return nested activities. Returns tender. Okay. Valid ID. Invalid ID. Okay. Describe with valid data. Okay. With invalid data. What? Camper params. Errors. Expects the errors to be an array. We do have that. I'm confused. Let's see, camper params. What are our camper params?
Dex,
Yeah,
instead of bybug, is a maybe try putting like debugger instead of bybug?
we can't use debugger in Rails or Ruby, but we could use pry. But bybug works very similar to pry. So I'm a little confused. Looks like what's happening here is to trigger this with invalid data thing. It's sending back an age with no name to trigger it. So I'm going to try doing that. I'm going to send back an age.
Is bybug the name of the gem?
Yes.
Okay.
Hit submit. No, it allows that. So weird. Why is it allowing it?
Did we try putting it in the post or the like create method
Yeah,
instead of?
let's do that. Okay. Add a new camper, H11, submit. Okay. Hit bybug. Can I look at his errors? No, we can't access the errors there. I feel confused and a little stuck about how can I trigger these errors? Because I feel like we should be hitting them, right?
I think Sean, I don't know if this is what we were doing the other day, but we did something similar where you were explaining like, well, not to put you on blast, but I just found it very helpful, like with the full messages versus like errors, but I don't remember exactly what that was that we were doing.
Oh, the other day, so the other day we added like we did errors.add and then we added like a string into the errors hash like object, I think.
Oh, okay, that's right.
I thought with this one it's just I think it's just printing that, I don't know, in the Chrome console.
Oh yeah, let's take a look then. Spec console. Maybe network.
Like I was expecting it for that error message to appear like maybe in the console or like in the just in the web browser.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh wait, do we need some sort of conditional where we say like if like camper dot valid question mark then render JSON else, Or I don't know. I kind of remember doing something like that too.
Yeah, we did try doing if and else methods for handling our errors before. This is supposed to be, oh, look at this. It takes in an argument of what the exception is. That's been our problem the whole time. I didn't realize that when we're handling an unprocessable entity response, that our method should take in an argument. And in this case, we're passing down the argument as what the error is. So let's try that. So camper data invalid, exceptions. And I'm going.
Sorry, what's the exception?
What's happening when this type of error is triggered? So this is a record invalid error. And when this error is being triggered, we're saying with a method that we've defined. And when that method is called, it's going to automatically pass in the list of what the exceptions are, or the list of the error messages, in other words. And that'll come through in our as an argument to our method. And I never included a space for an argument because I didn't realize that it was expecting to have an argument here. So let's go ahead and try it like this now.
So exceptions is just like a placeholder that they used for whatever is being passed in when you hit that error.
Yeah, I could call it error messages. So we could do something like this. And let's go ahead and let's see if we can run our RSpec again. Okay. Return the status code. Don't know where that was failing. But let's see if we can take a look at what the error messages are now. Let's see if we test this out in our front end. Let's reload. Let's try adding a new camper with an age. Submit. Where's it? Application? No. That was sources. No, it's not sources. It's network. Yeah, this shows the statuses. How about, can we see the blocked requests? No. All of them. Okay, interesting. Gave us a status 2.1, but I bet if we refresh this, yeah, it's not actually creating it. It is stopping it from being created because it's not valid. But for some reason, we're not triggering our error messages. Errors, error messages. I wish I could see. I wish I knew how to see this. Feeling really stupid and like not qualified right now. Okay. Do active record, record invalid. We have our own method. We create a method. We make sure that method allows arguments. And then the arguments, like, are we just supposed to memorize that we add all of this to it? I don't like that. I'd really prefer to see the errors listed out. But I don't understand why we're not hitting them. Well, I'm going to try just doing what it says to do for now. And I'm going to ask my colleagues for more details about this. Let's go ahead and try that. And I want to do RSpec. it still is failing for some reason. Steve, just saw that. All right. How are we doing on time? We've been at this for a bit. I think that whenever I get annoyed at something or I feel really lost, it's a good time for me to take a break and put my eyeballs on something like green or natural. So let's go ahead and give ourselves 10 and we'll come back to this and maybe by then I'll be competent enough to be your instructor again. Let's go ahead and do timer 10 minutes.
Before we go, Abby
Sure.
pointed out something.
Oh, what's up?
That was Amy, but I agree though.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're
Wait,
right.
where though?
Just
Didn't we use
noticed-
create?
They use .create exclamation. I like just saw it in the solution.
Oh,
What is the difference between create and create?
yeah.
I think in this case, would it be new camp? If I do it without the exclamation, is it new camper.save? Let's try this. Without the exclamation, do I need to explicitly say save this camper? All right, let's try. Let me try it with the exclamation.
Oh, I think it's saying that when you add the exclamation, it checks if the validation passes and then will trigger the error.
My goodness, that
What?
is interesting. I did not know that.
I
Okay.
sent something the API doc on create exclamation in the
Okay.
chat.
Yeah, let's take a look at this. So this is a difference between methods that I literally just didn't know until this very second. So if we want to create something, but make sure that we trigger our validations or error handling, we have to use the exclamation point on create. Come on, Paige, you can load.
But that doesn't make sense because you'd think if it hit the error, it would do the error messages automatically.
I think it like technically wasn't checking to see if it was valid first though. So then there was no error maybe.
Yeah,
Oh.
okay. We'll
Oh, you
create
know
an
what?
object, but only if the validations pass. Raises the
Hmm.
record invalid error if the validations fail. So it won't even raise the error unless we're using the create method with the exclamation point. Okay.
Huh.
Unlike regular create. So regular create will not trigger invalid or will not trigger the error messages for validations. Okay, this is good to know. All right, let's definitely add a note about this to our list of notes here. That is something I learned just this minute.
I remembered seeing that, but I feel like I didn't know what it meant until like right now. So this was good because now I understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and add this into the controllers. When creating new data, you must model create exclamation. Trigger active record. Record invalid, I believe. Messages. Format this. Text. I need to, No, let me just highlight it then, but I can't do what I want to do. Okay. That is, I mean, good eye right there. And thank you for the support, everyone.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, this is most of our things passed. The last thing would be checking out our signups page. Let's take a break now. And then we'll come back and we'll do the signups, and then we can do a review of everything we've just done. Let me double check the time here. Yeah, we're coming up on lunch in an hour and 20 minutes. Let's go ahead and take a 15-minute.
Cool.
Wait a minute. I like the vibes of this one better. Okay. See y'all in a few. Okay. I think I forgot to stop the recording for that break. This is going to be the world's worst recording and guide, but we got there somehow, mostly. Let's take a look at finishing up these last few deliverables here. Looking for validations for our signups. So let's see here. Creates a new sign up. We're gonna have to do some strong params here as well. So let's see, do a private tag. I want to define sign up params. We're going to permit the params. We know we're going to need a camper ID, an activity ID, and a time, right? Let's see, looking at our database schema. Yes, signups, camper ID, activity ID, and the time. So I want to allow those to come in through the parameters. Let's change the create method. Give it that exclamation point with our sign up params. And we want to give it a success message as well. So let's do the status created tag for when we create a new one. All right, let's go ahead and try running our spec again. What else do we have here? All right. Creates a new sign up, returns the associated activity data. Okay. And we'll need to tell it to reject it if it's invalid. So if the record is invalid, we'll use our record invalid rescue method. Let's go ahead and start building that out. We want to rescue from record invalid. This is invalid data being put in. And we're going to create a method to trigger our errors. I'm going to say sign up data invalid. Create a method with that name. Here, much like we did down here, we're going to render our JSON with our errors. Okay. And we're going to need a place for arguments, error messages. And although I can't see the error object that's being passed through, I know that it has a key of record, which beneath of that has a key of errors, which beneath of that has a key of full messages to see all of the messages for the error. So I'm going to just copy this. Add it here. And then we also want to say what the status was. And for record invalid, the associated status object is an unprocessable entity. All right, let's try running this through our spec now. See what we get. Hmm. Not quite. It's terrible. Let's see. That's not working. I'm going to take a look at the Signups controller. That looks good. Saying new sign up. We'll sign up create with our exclamation point, passing through our sign up params, rendering the JSON for our new sign up along with the status code that it was created. Let's take a look at the sign up params. Yep, camper ID, activity ID, and the time. That all looks good. Looks like it should be working. Did I? Oh, I forgot a colon in front of the name of our error method that we created down here. Okay, so we need to make sure that gets a colon in front of it. And go ahead and save this. Let's try running our spec again. Okay. So far, so good. We only have one failure now. And let's see, this should, posting a sign up with valid data returns its associated activity data. We want to get the associated activity data. I thought we did that through the serializer. Let's just go ahead and take a look here and see what might be missing. Signups controller. Signup dot activity. So not just the sign up. We want to return the activity of the sign up. Okay, we can do that. So new sign up dot activity. Let's go ahead and try this. Whew. All right, all of our things are passing.
Yay.
Let's go ahead and review it all and try to put it together in a more sensible way. Let's see here. Let's reload the page. Can we add a new camper? If I say Dex age 37 and hit submit, here we go. Age is not included in the list of ages. That's good. If I were to try it without a name, with the right age, we get the error that the name can't be blank. Okay, our errors are looking good now. Yeah, all right. And then we can add a new sign up. So let's go ahead and sign him up for fencing, and I'm not going to put in the time. I'll try to hit submit. And it looks like it allows it to go through without a time. I don't think that should be allowed. So let's add a validation. Even though our spec doesn't ask for it, I think it would be good to say, oh, okay, wait a minute. We did have a validation for the time. Interesting. Validates the time. Maybe we do have to add presence true, like Brennan mentioned earlier. Let's try this instead. I'm going to close our server for the back end, restart it. I'm going to refresh the page. Let's try adding another one without a time. Oh, that doesn't make a difference. Interesting. Okay, so that's not it.
Is it another create thing when you create a new sign up?
Yeah.
Oh no, how's that there?
Yeah. Params permit time. Sign up data invalid. take a look here and see what we got. This all looks good. Let me look at the signups model that they've got here real fast. Validates time, inclusion. Yep, we did that. We did it with slightly different syntax, but I think it should still work. This is a lot longer though. Looks like it's safe for us to just say 0.23. And perhaps we could go ahead and mark this down to just 8 to 18. What else do we have? There's also the serializer for signups. Yep, we checked that out. That all looked good. It feels like we should be hitting an error, and yet we are not. Don't know what to say about that. Let's go ahead and restart the server one more time. I'm going to refresh this page. I'm going to select the activity, submit. Nope, it's just going to let us keep doing it, whether we pick a time or not. Let's look at the database. I'm curious to see what the database has in it. Oops, it's under our chat, right. We refresh the SQLite Explorer. I'm going to press play on the signups. Okay. By not putting anything in, it's saying that they're going to be doing it at midnight. That's why it's still valid. So it's okay. It'll just, if you don't put in a time, it looks like it schedules you for midnight by default. And that's how this is working and why it's not triggering any errors. If I were to try to put in some weird number then, let's try doing at 2,500 hours. All right, yeah, that time isn't valid. Putting in a blank time submits 0 by default though, and that's why we're not triggering any errors with that. So that's okay. All right, let's review. I'm going to try and do this in a way that's relatively quickly, but also makes sense and hits all the notes. So when we got started here, we started by generating resources for our 3 data types that we're working with. We have the activities table, the campers table, and then our join table of signups. Our join table also got its own unique attribute of the time for the activity. After we generated everything using Rails G resources for all 3 of these data types, we got model files. Oops, not what I wanted. Okay. Let's take a look at our model files. We made our associations here. And when we made our associations, we also declared which associations were dependent on this particular data type existing. In our case, signing up for an activity, well, we want to make sure that all signups for an activity are deleted when that activity is deleted. So if we were to remove an activity from our roster of activities, we want to make sure that we also delete all of the signups that were associated with that activity. So we added this dependent destroy method. We also add our validations into our model files. In this case, a camper must have a name and their age must be between 8 and 18. And we put our associations here as well. A camper has many signups, and by extension, they have many activities through the signups table. Finally, for our signup model, we have a validation for which hours are valid for time signup between midnight and 11 p.m. And we also declared that a signup, as it's a join table, a single signup will belong to a single camper and a single activity. Okay. In addition to the models table, it also created controllers for us. Okay. So looking at our activities controller, according to the rules of our application, we've decided that we don't want users to be able to create new activities or show a single activity or update any of the activities. All we want our users to be able to do is list all the activities that are available out and to delete an activity. In order to render errors, in case an activity isn't found when we're trying to find it to delete it, we want to trigger an error for this. And if we trigger the error, we're going to rescue from the error using the built-in active record method, record not found. And we associate that with our own custom method that we created. We're calling it activity not found. In activity not found, we're going to render JSON, and the JSON that we're rendering will be an object with a key of error, and the value is the message that we want to send back. In addition to that, we're going to set our HTTP status and the entity code for when a record can't be found is just not found. Taking a look at the signups controller, we don't want users to be able to list all signups, list one signup, update a signup, or delete a signup. All we want our users to be able to do is to create new signups. So we created a new signup and we used the exclamation point on our create method, because without the exclamation point, the create method will not check to see if it's valid. So by adding the exclamation point, this is saying create with validations, not just create it, but create it with our validations intact. So we're going to create it with our strong params. We're allowing only certain data to come back in our params for the sign up. A sign up has a camper ID, an activity ID, and a time. So those are the only parameters that we're going to permit. So we'll create it with those permitted parameters. And then once it's created, for this purposes of this project, we're not returning the sign up, we're returning the sign-up's associated activity. And we're going to give it the status code of created if it was successfully created. If it wasn't successfully created, if the data was invalid, we want to rescue from that error by calling on the active record invalid method. And in addition to that method, we're going to be bundling it with our own method that we created called sign up data invalid. When we're creating record invalid methods, we have to allow it to have an argument for whatever the error messages or exceptions are. So we created our method, sign up data invalid. We provided an argument to it, and then we rendered that JSON error by passing back an object with the key of errors. And then we have our error messages parameter or argument that is set to some sort of JSON object that must look something like this. So this is what this is navigating through. In the back end somewhere, there's this nested JSON object that has a key of record, which beneath it has a key of errors, which beneath that has a key of the full messages. So we're going to render out whatever that full messages array is, what all the error messages are. They'll be bundled into this full messages array for us. We're going to render all of that out in JSON. I wish we could have seen this structure, but we can intuit from the way that we're accessing it that it must look like this. And then we pass back a status. And for records that are invalid, the associated status with those is unprocessable entity. Finally, we have the campers controller. The campers controller is a bit more extensive. We have most of the, or about half of the actions available to us. We can see all the campers. We can show details for a single camper. We can create a new camper. We can't update a camper or destroy a camper. When we're showing a single camper, we want to also show, in addition to the camper that we find, we want to see the associated activities that that camper has. We're accomplishing that task through our serializer. So let's take a look at our serializers real quick. We created this custom serializer to show that a particular camper has many activities. So when a particular camper is accessed, we want to also be able to access that camper's activities through our controller. In order to get our custom serializer to work, we've passed down our camper serializer. Our camper serializer lists out the valid attributes that we want to show for a particular camper. And this is inheriting from the active record serializer method. So active record or active model serializer passes its methods down to our camper serializer file. And our camper serializer file also passes down those active record serializers as well as what the valid attributes are to our camper with activities serializer. Okay. When we create a new camper, we're careful to create it with an exclamation point again, so we can make sure that we trigger our error handling. Without the exclamation point, our error handling will be skipped. We're creating it with camper params. And camper params is a method that we defined in our private methods, where we're just permitting what attributes are we going to allow a camper to have. Well, in our database, a camper can only have a name and an age anyway, so we will permit only those two parameters to come through in our camper params. After the camper has been created, we will render that new camper and send over the status. And in our case, once the camper is created, we'll be sending forward the status of created. For handling our errors, if we were trying to find a camper and the camper wasn't found, rather than having our page error out or whatever, we're going to rescue from that error by triggering the active record not found method, and we'll be pairing it with our own custom method called camper not found. Taking a look at our camper not found method, all we're doing is we're going to render JSON. We're passing back an object with the class of error or the key of error and our own message, which is just camper not found. And we'll send back an HTTP status of not found. In addition to this, if we're creating a new camper and our parameters are not correct for some reason, such as the camper's too old, we forgot to put in their name, our create method with the exclamation point will trigger that the record is invalid, therefore it can't be created. So we're going to rescue from that error with active record invalid. pairing that with our own custom method, camper data invalid. Because this is a record invalid error, our custom method that we create to pair with a record invalid method must accept an argument. And the argument we will access. And we don't know what the full argument looks like, but it has a structure of our argument dot record at its next level, errors at the level after that, and then the full messages at the level after that. And full messages will be equal to an array full of strings with lots of messages inside of them. In the case of the camper data being invalid, let's see if we can trigger some of those messages. If I try to submit a blank one, well, inside of that array, there was name can't be blank and age is not included in the list. Those messages were inside of this full messages array. Okay, so we triggered those errors and we assign it the status of unprocessable entity for record invalids. All right, I think that just about covers it all. How are we doing on time? All right, we still have a little bit of time, but I found this to be a little bit exhausting personally. So let me go ahead and just check in with y'all. I'm going to stop the recording now.